Hello and welcome to Salt City Gamescast. This is episode 149. My name is Nick Naylor, joined by Jared Olam.
Hey,
Feeling healthy-ish.
Me?
No, I am.
Oh, good.
I think the whole show is maybe
Yeah.
feeling pretty good.
Yep.
My cough is back, but that is my Utah cough.
Okay.
Just so you know,
Did you have a Mexican cough?
Mexico Nick doesn't cough.
Ah.
What it is the climate is a problem because you put me in that humidity. And I hardly ever cough.
Was it pretty humid while you were there?
Yeah, a little bit. And it started to get a little humid as the trip wore on. It got a little warmer, and it just I had some times where I walked out of my room with my sunglasses on.
Yeah.
And the room's climatized, and I walked out, and they just fog up.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's really fucking annoying. That happens a lot when I golf, not even in humidity, but just like randomly. And guy, got to tell you, when you're golfing and that happens, that's really not ideal. Somebody should figure that out. Maybe they already have. I don't know. I'm not like abreast to what is going on in shade technology, but that is really annoying.
But successful trip. It was a nice break. It was relaxing. I got some new booze here. Some booze I had a little bit of this last night. I like it. It's Balvenie. We've had a lot of Balvenies in the past, and they don't know if I've ever had one that I was like, ooh, that one's not it. I think I've pretty much liked everything I've had, and this one is Pete Week, so it's got a little smoke to it. I think it's pretty good. I like it.
It's very light.
Yeah,
smoke.
Yeah, it's not anything too aggressive. It's probably a decent one to kind of introduce people to Pete and just see what they think of it, because it's pretty inoffensive to me.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Balvenie does good stuff. I generally agree with you. I don't know of anyone that I'm like, I don't like this, you know. And I'm usually happy if like I get a bottle, even like their lower end stuff, like the 10 or the 12. If I get that as a gift, Caribbean cask, although that's like now over $100, which like back when we first started drinking it, it was like significantly cheaper.
I feel like we're paying 70 or something like that.
60 or 70 bucks now. It's like I've seen it a couple of times, like here and in other parts of the country, and it's like over 100 now, which is unfortunate, but that's a pretty good product. And it is 14 years old, so like kind of makes sense, I guess, to a certain extent.
This one's 19, which we were texting back and forth about what happened here, and all I can figure out is that they already have this product normally, and I think it's in a 15. I could be wrong on that, but anyway, you don't see a lot of 19-year scotches. It's kind of just randomly pulled out of their ass, but whatever.
Yeah, I was like, that's a random age. My favorite is 18 and a half years old whiskey. Very random. I've been looking for a bottle of this for a while. I've seen it a couple of times here locally, and it's just been a little too rich for my blood every single time. As far as I understand, they do it once a year. And I'm sure that they probably kind of mess around with like different age statements each year as well. So maybe that's just what they're doing. And you could be right that this is like specific to duty free 19-year-old.
Duty free is pretty funny. They do a thing where if you order online, you get 15% off.
Oh, wow.
Which is like a no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
The only catch is that no one knows how it fucking works once you get to duty free.
Okay.
Like I get there and I'm like, yeah, I ordered online, and she's like, what? I'm like, the website. How do I pick it up? She's like, I don't know. and I'm just like, well, like, how do I do it? And literally, they couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
They never figured it out. The guy says, I have a code. I can get you 20% off. Can we just do that? And I'm like, well, that's even better. So yeah, let's do it. So I got 20% off. And then I got an email the next day that said my duty-free order was canceled. So I still don't fully understand how that works. But either way, it's a good trip. Few issues. When on the way in, everything's great. We land. Have you been to the Cancun airport?
No.
You get into it and you're in like you've got a long walk in just in a small hallway to get over to immigration.
Yeah.
And we step off the plane and the hallway's full of people, which is never a thing, like a line. And we have to turn and walk the wrong way. We walk the wrong way to the end of this long ass, like hundreds of yards. I mean, this is really fucking far, and get into the back of the line. And we're like, oh dear. Because I know that the big room with all the turnstile things, we're nowhere near that, but we're already in line. And from the moment I stepped off the plane to when we got baggage claim, 3 hours.
Holy shit.
3 hours.
For immigration?
Yep.
Wow.
It
was a mistake. You were like, this is the wrong line. This was the right line.
No, when you got to that big room, you were just like, what the fuck? It was chaos. It was stressful to even get into the line because it was like everyone's just like kind of like muscling through, and it was a terrible time. Luckily, my daughter was great throughout it. She had to be on my shoulders so she didn't die.
Yeah.
But they must have had like computers go down and like no one was getting through or something because it was insane. That's how we started. That's unfortunate because we took the earlier flight. Usually we didn't want to wake up my daughter too early. So we weren't getting to our hotel till like 7:00, and then it's like eat, bed, that's it. And so this year we were a few hours earlier. So it's like, this is going to be great. We're going to get there early. No, we got there the exact same amount of time.
Just evened out.
So that was insane. I've not experienced that. It was a bad time.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Place is pretty funny. It's an all-inclusive. You got all-inclusives before?
No.
The catch with like, one, I think a lot of them don't have very good food. This place we go to it because the food is pretty good, and then the cocktails are more mid. Usually, you're not getting these fancy cocktails that you might pay $15 for at a place, but you can play the game. Like there's a nicer bar by our room, and I can get a pretty good old fashioned there, no problem. So I go to the main bar, like in the main lobby. It's like where everyone, if you're going to dinner, everyone stops by there. And then I go over and I'm like, well, maybe he can do an old fashioned. And I order it, and he turns around and he very deliberately pulls an unopened bottle of Woodford Reserve off of the shelf. And I was like, that's fine. Seems like a product that can go into my old fashioned, and we're things are looking up.
Yeah. Well, Woodford's good.
And I was alone. And I was just watching him. He walks about 10 feet over, proceeds to make the cocktail not with the Woodford Reserve. I watch him, and he pulls something out of the lower shelf and brings me like the worst tasting old fashioned I've maybe ever had. And then I watch him still, and he proceeds to walk back and put the Woodford Reserve back up on the shelf. And I'm like, what the fuck just happened to me here? Like, what did this dude thinks he pulled one over on me. Which he did because I tipped him and then went to the other bar and got the old fashioned I wanted. So I guess he won, but
yeah,
fuck. It was pretty funny.
My experience with Mexico in particular is like, you can kind of wheel and deal, you know, like the best like equivalency would be like bartering in Asia for like products and things like that. You know, yeah, they're going to set you up with like whatever their predetermined setup is. But like, if you talk to them and, you know, kind of expect if you indicate that you're going to tip them well, they'll just do whatever the fuck you want, pretty much.
So you're absolutely right, because they kind of have a class system at this hotel but like the building we stay in has its own like check-in, and then it has its own little bar, which is like, it's a small room with a little bar, not a bar you go and hang out and have a bunch of drinks in. It's like the lobby check-in bar.
Yeah.
But they have better cocktails there. So I use that for everything. There's people always checking in. They're like, who the fuck's that? It's like, Nick just never leaves here. He just comes here. But that guy, and it was usually the same guy. So then I tipped him well, and then I got a good kind of reputation, and we talk. And everything he made me was great. Yeah. And they had bullet, and that's literally what I put in my old fashioned. So that was good. And they had a really stupid smoker. Did I post that to the Discord? Did you see that?
Yeah, it's just a bong.
It's it is literally. I mean, I'm looking at it and I'm just like, well,
it's a gravity bong.
Just using water to push smoke through this thing, right?
Yeah, that thing that you, I don't have personal experience, but that thing that you posted is absolutely like, you can use it for what they're using it for, but you can also put your preferred herb in it, and
that's gonna do the same.
Yeah, thing. It's a gravity bong.
Put your mouth on the end of that tube, and it's all
exactly. I don't know personally anything about it, but I have been told the gravity bongs will get you.
They'll fuck you up.
They'll get you real fucked up.
Okay. I felt bad because I would ask him to use. This is the other reason why I would kind of tip him extra, because it was no one else is using this fucking thing.
Yeah.
It's just I'm in there and I'm just like, get on the smoker.
Oh, no, they're probably using it, just not for the things that you want them to use it for.
No. Not too much else happened on the trip. It was pretty relaxing, except we went and saw teppanyaki. You know, they have like 2 surfaces.
Did you just say you went and saw Teppanyaki?
It's a whole show. That's, you know, they do a whole thing.
Okay.
It's a show, Jared.
Sure. Yeah. Continue.
But you know, there's like 2 cook surfaces.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
They're like flat tops.
Yeah. So my family's on the one, and this other family is on the other one, and they straight up break a whole bottle on the cook surface before they start cooking.
Oh, good.
And there's just like glass everywhere, and it was very funny. And I just couldn't get over it, because then the guy comes in, he's like, "Oh no!"
Did he implement it into his show? Did he like make his volcano
throw glass in his mouth?
Yeah,
like, no,
yeah, exactly. Damn, that's a shame.
He just got it cleaned up, but
yeah,
it was it's a nice time to get away and just do very little.
Yep.
Swim for a few hours, nap for a few hours. It was great.
Yeah, and not play video games.
Yeah.
Maybe you played some video games.
I did, because when we napped, you know, we would go after swimming. I would go play. Didn't get to play the game I wanted to. I wanted to play Monster Hunter any way I could, like, limp through it. I knew it was going to be bad on the Steam Deck.
Sure.
No. Just no.
Yeah, I mean, I immediately, as soon as I booted the thing up, was like, no, this is not going to work on a handheld.
Not even like limp through early missions. It was absolutely not. So I ended up not playing that, and I ended up playing a real dumb game that I didn't play very long. We didn't talk about it very much. It's called Unpacking. I don't know why I got it.
Okay.
Because I don't think it's for me.
Okay.
I think it's for people that have major OCD problems.
Okay.
Like with organizational stuff. Because the whole fucking game is just like top down. And it's like, welcome to your room. And it gives you a bunch of boxes, and you got to open the boxes and put all your shit away. Like books on the bookshelves, and like you put your computer monitor where you want it.
Okay.
And I played it for a few levels, and there's very minimal story, but you're clearly growing up. Like you're a kid at first, and then you like go to school, and you have this, and then you have a kitchen, so there's multiple rooms. And I stopped playing it pretty quickly, but I'm sure that there are some people that just have that quirk that's just like, I fucking love organizational stuff. This is the best thing ever.
It's like the people that are really into like Power Wash Simulator.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
That game is pretty satisfying, but I think it's scratching that same itch where it's
Power washers are really satisfying.
Yeah, they are. But it's like, this fucking van's dirty. Let me get it clean. Peak fucking gaming. Yeah,
absolutely. I thought there might be a little more to it, but there really isn't anything to this thing, and it's just not what I want to do when I play video games. And really,
anyway. I mean, how did you track this down? Did you hear good things?
Yeah, like through Blue Sky, people I'd just seen different people saying this was crack. This was like the people I'm talking about that got the problems with the organization. They were like, oh, this was very soothing.
This sounds horrible to me.
And I was like, I'm on vacation. I want to be soothed.
Yeah.
So I stopped that and went and played Metaphor instead. But
okay,
which we can talk about that a little later. But I've played some Avowed. I think you've completed Avowed. Do you want to start with that, or do you want to start with the other one?
Yeah, let's talk about Avowed.
Okay.
Yes, you're right. I did finish it. Wrapped it up in about 50-ish hours.
It's not too bad. That's kind of nice to not have 100-hour.
Yeah, I mean, that's like doing everything as well. Like every side quest, everything that is available in the game, I saw and did. So, yeah, let's talk about some of the good stuff first out the gate. Very nice looking game, like incredibly nice looking game. In fact, I think that Obsidian really did some really good stuff with the art direction. One like small nitpick for me is character creation. While it is robust, there's no helmets in this game, so I really hate that. And they're like, and it makes sense why, because you're like this godlike character that's touched by a god.
You have a tree growing out of your head.
Yeah, it's more like fungus. It's like mushrooms and things like that.
It's like if The Last of Us was normal.
Sure, they did. Yeah, you can definitely make your character look like a clicker for sure. I did not do that because every single option I was like, well, this is going to interfere with my helmet. This is before I knew that there was going to be a helmet or no helmets. So yeah, my character is like very plain looking. And then like when I found out there was no helmets, I was like, I should have just fucking put a shiitake mushroom on the top of my goddamn head. So
He's just
anyways,
a regular old Todd.
yeah,
Hanging
just a
out.
regular dude. But yeah, it's a very nice looking game. The art direction is fantastic. It's very vibrant and colorful.
It's very pretty.
Yeah.
And it pops. These are not boring settings. Immediately you're kind of like, damn, like, and it's not even not a graphical powerhouse. Like it's not you're not going to necessarily hold it up to be like this is pushing everything to its limit, but it looks quite good.
Yeah, absolutely. And then just kind of like talking about the level design here, I think it's fantastic. I think it's probably the best thing about this game. There's a lot of verticality in the level design, and there's a lot of secrets to find. So if you're interested in exploring like an environment, which I absolutely am, it's generally what I do. I'll kind of ignore the main story beats that are going to progress the story forward and just dick off and run around the environment and see what I can get into, see what is available here in the environment. And I would say that from just like a level design perspective, there's lots of nooks and crannies and things to secrets and things like that to find.
Little platforming puzzles,
sure,
to get to different chests, kind of
everywhere.
And it's not a lot of them don't really have markers on the map. A lot of them is like, at least when I was playing,
None of them do.
It was pulling up my map and seeing, well, I clearly haven't walked in that spot because there's like a fog of war or whatever you want to call it. So it's like, well, I should go over there because so far, just about everywhere I go has something, some little thing tucked away, which is nice. It's like we play a lot of open worlds that sometimes they have a lot of unused or just filler space. And from what I played on this game, it felt pretty handcrafted.
Yeah, the opening environment that you're in is probably one of the best ones. But as you progress through, I think there's three.
The
other
trial
ones.
one, or like the first.
The first once you get on the dock.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but there's just a lot to kind of discover and find. And I think that it's really enjoyable to kind of traverse this game because everything is just super snappy and fast. The default walk speed or run speed is very, very quick. Almost like in another game, it would be like the advanced movement speed after you like got some gear that increased your movement speed. But out the gate, you can just move very, very quickly and parkour and do lots of platforming in the environment. It's very satisfying.
I had to adjust some settings a little bit because it was
too snappy
with my mouse.
Okay,
it was a little disorienting almost because with these ultra wides, it was kind of like get back and slow this down a little bit because it was like stuttering because it's so precise and so
sure.
But this dude, yeah, like you said, motherfucker's got places to go.
Yeah,
you can get there.
Yeah. So you really don't need like a mount or anything like that in this game, just because you are the mount essentially, and you just run as fast as fuck, boy, which is satisfying and it's good. Another thing that I think is incredible about this game is the combat variety, and when I say that, I don't mean like what you're experiencing or encountering. What I mean is there's a lot of options to kind of tailor the combat experience to your preference, right? The thing that's really great about it is you can equip a weapon in each hand, and you can alternate different types of weapons for each hand. So, for instance, if you want to do like some sort of wizard hybrid with like guns, there's guns in this game. You can do that, right? In other games, you might be like, and I think like initially, myself included, I was like, you get grimoires, which are just books, spell books essentially, and then you get a wand, and like in your mind, you're like, oh well, I probably need to use these two items in unison to like be effective at like magic combat. Not so. You can just fucking equip a grimoire and then like a sword in your left hand or a gun in your left hand, and so there's a lot of flexibility in terms of like just kind of tailoring the experience to the way you want to play it, right? And so that's really satisfying. And it was fun early on to kind of mix and match different styles to see kind of what worked best for me. I ended up landing on a musket, which is two-handed. There are two-handed weapons in this game. Musket, and then my secondary, you can have two different loadouts essentially on a character, and you can switch them very quickly on the fly in between the two. So really, you can fill in any gaps. So if you're looking for range, you got that, and then for close quarters combat. But yeah, and then I just did typical sword and board for my secondary, and that worked out well.
The
But
feedback off when someone hits your shield's pretty good in that game. Shield's
yeah,
pretty.
in the ranger skill tree, there's a parry as well that you can unlock that really is very satisfying once you unlock that. It makes it much more satisfying. So yeah, those are the things that I really really like about this game.
This game's based in the Pillars of Eternity
Correct.
world,
Yeah.
which I don't think you need to have played either any of those necessarily, but if you have played those, I think that there's quite a bit of good things for people that like are into the lore of that world.
Yeah, there's lots of lore in this game.
There's
There's
a shitload.
there's a lot. Yeah, it's very much I think that like from a design philosophy, this is like, let's try to make this as close to Skyrim as possible while like updating and making certain elements of it better, but then also kind of streamlining it and making it much more small sized, bite sized in comparison to Skyrim. This is not this like grand overarching experience. There is a lot of content here, but like when you compare the two sizes and scopes, it's just not the same.
Which like 4 main zones or something.
Yeah, which I actually appreciate. I think that having like kind of a tight, curated experience for something like this works.
I think it's also where Obsidian's at with a lot of what we're probably going to get from them.
Yeah,
it's just kind of what to expect. I think the Outer Worlds was the same.
Yep.
And they've even come out and said like, we are not interested. Like recently they've come out and said, we are not interested in just growing and growing. We want to be sustainable, which is really a great thing. And I hope it works for them. I think this has been successful for them.
100%. Yeah. Pretty broad critical acclaim for the game across the board. A lot of people really enjoy this thing. Like I've listened to a lot of podcasts, read a lot of articles where people are just like over the moon about this thing. And that's great. That's good.
Is your first companion
Kai.
Gareth from
Garrus? Yeah, Garrus from Mass Effect. Yes.
That's why I don't like him at all, but okay. I don't have any problem with the voice actor. I don't like the character.
Well,
it's part of the Blue Man Group, and I'm just like, I can't.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like a weird, creepy fish man. He's got like scales and shit like that. I think he's the best character in the game. So,
Okay.
And that's not saying like I think he's an incredible character. I just think that the other 3 characters that you get in your party are dog shit. Like they're awful. I'm just gonna like those are all the things that I like about this game. I am not nearly as high on this thing as other people are. I think that this thing's got serious flaws.
So I stopped playing it. I was having fun. I got to the end of the first zone, and generally, like all of that, I was really, especially when I first started, I was like, I think I can really get into this thing as far as the exploration, and had a good time. And then I read a little more, and immediately, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I didn't get super far, but I was really turned off with what I had read about how the equipment works and like the loot in these games, because you're getting loot, but real like in that first one, I'm just like, this is all the same shit. Like I'm just getting the same fucking wands at the end of this thing, and then I believe when you go to the next zone, it levels up to the next tier of loot, and I believe each zone has like a tier of loot. So it seemed very boxed into me in a way that I did not like, that I could see how it worked. Like I could clearly see, instead of the numbers going up, it was, this is the tier of loot you're going to have here. And then when you move on, you're going to get the exceptional tier or whatever. And that really was not something, it was something that just rubbed me the wrong way.
There's a lot of loot in this game, so I think that largely is that like annoyance probably would be mitigated.
Goes away as you get further.
Yeah, there's tons and tons of, and like really like with any game like this, you're really going for like the unique items
for sure.
The named items, and there's a lot of those in this game that are going to do unique things for your build and things like that. There is this like kind of gatekeeping in terms of like your upgrade path, because the ability to move the weapon to the next tier is going to be gated by some map that is not available until you get to the next environment, right?
Sure.
So from that perspective, I guess it's kind of like handholdy, but that aspect of the game never really frustrated me that much. I thought that the gear system was like pretty decent, and I have seen a lot of people that were like really critical of this game, like in the media. That was like one of their big criticisms is like um you just have to invest so much time to like get a weapon all the way or a piece of gear all the way up to the highest tier, which I think is somewhat true, but like for the way that I play games, it was not a big deal because I'm just like scouring an environment, finding every little piece of gear or
if you're fully doing every zone, it's not going to be
it's not a big deal. But I have heard that like if you're just kind of like going through the main story, you're going to struggle with like getting gear all the way up, and then B, if you're just going through the main story, you're not going to fully like fill out a character as far as their skills either.
Sure.
I didn't have either of those issues. I maxed out a character, got everything that I could possibly want, and was able to upgrade all of the main pieces of equipment to like the highest tier, excluding like one or two. And that would have just required me to grind a little bit more. And by the end of this, I was like so fucking done that I just didn't care to do that. I think, yeah, the biggest thing, like this is like fast food. Like this video game is like fast food equivalent, right? Like it's good, it tastes nice, but it's like terrible for you. There's just really no like uh nutritional value or content to it.
Sure.
And I think that that's a pretty good analogy for this thing, in my opinion. It's just all very surface level. I think the writing is particularly bad here. There's a lot of it, but a lot of it is just not worth a damn, in my opinion. With these types of games, you're really concerned about, like when we go back to like the Veilguard, talking about that last year, and just like the lack of like significant choices in that game, like by and large. Obsidian really tries in this, and there are many kind of like A or B decisions that's going to like change the outcome of a situation, right, in the story. The problem is that they're not like fully fleshed out, right? Like you make a lot of choices, and there might be like small granular changes because of the choice you made, but nothing sweeping, nothing that's really going to like change the outcome in like a tangible, significant way.
That sure is common with what we've been getting for the last few years.
Right.
Like we have just not, I guess no one's fulfilled the promise of the next step of the Mass Effects and
Sure.
even the original Dragon Ages and stuff like that, where it was like,
Or
it was like, this is awesome. What's it going to be like in 10 years? Spoilers, not any better.
yeah. Or like Fallout New Vegas, which,
Yeah.
is an Obsidian game where there is a lot of choices that you're making that have like tangible consequences, right?
Sure.
Nothing like that exists outside of like a handful of experiences or scenarios in this game. So it just falls flat from that perspective. Another thing that I think is going back to the characters. God damn, dude. These motherfuckers talk and talk and talk. So you have these camps that you set up that
feelings.
Their feelings suck. I don't care about their feelings. They're not interesting characters. They don't have interesting motivations. It's just like going through the fucking motions. And they want to talk about everything. At the end of this, I felt like a goddamn therapist rather than a fucking adventurer. Like every little fucking small problem that these motherfuckers have.
They really need to flesh it out.
Yeah, once you get to camp, it's like we just murdered a fucking pack of spiders that were, the size of fucking bears. But let's talk about your fucking.
You think Dave likes me?
Yeah, your PTSD or something like that. I just did not care, and like there was no emotional investment that I had, with any of the characters. Like I said, Kai's probably the best one. He's got some interesting story beats throughout the story. But the other three, like one's a hunter trapper guy that's like this gruff asshole because he's a dwarf, and like of course he is. You've got like basically like a necromancer. They're called animancers in this, and her story is just completely throwaway. I could not care any less. And then you have this like furry Catwoman who's a whore that just basically just talks about like her promiscuous, even though she's in like a committed relationship, but she talks about sex a lot and has like a lot of like snarky / kind of like humorous takes on like what's going on, and she's very amorous. She just wants to fuck everything, basically. It just sucks. Like none of it's good. And it's compounded on by the fact that in the story you've got this fucking thing. You're touched by a god. This god is in your head and it talks to you incessantly. It fucking just talks and talks and talks. And you know, as you get through certain story segments, you got to go back to camp to like upgrade materials, you know, get rid of materials,
talk to God,
do all that shit, and talk to God. And you'll be like, okay, I spent 15 minutes listening to Kai's bullshit about his boyfriend that he let die, and now I've got to fucking you know, take care of my mats and get my gear in order. I'm ready to go on to the next quest. No, you're not ready, because this god, once you go to sleep, is going to talk to you for fucking 10 minutes about God knows what. I like, it's so frustrating. Every single time I would go to bed, or at least a lot, it doesn't happen every single time, but a lot of times this fucking thing wants to like talk to you about like just this stupid shit where I'm just like, I do not care. I do not care. The fucking overarching story is incredibly predictable. You're just like going through the motions. Like once I kind of formulated like an idea of what was going to happen at the end of the game, I was like, well, I don't know if that's what's really like, it's open to interpretation. But then I finished the game and it was like, oh yeah, it was that.
Exactly that.
It was that. And that like, I had that kind of like revelation very early on, like within, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours of the game. And it just got some serious problems when it comes to the writing. The pacing is kind of off. The main antagonist in this game is like the most throwaway, stupid character. I just could not get invested in any of it, and just was like, yeah, this is good in certain ways, but in other ways it's just so throwaway that it just feels like fast food, right? Another thing that I think is overblown, like so many people, I've been ranting and raving about how great the combat is. Is it better than Skyrim's combat? Sure, absolutely. Is it
Skyrim's 50 years old?
Yeah,
more than that?
yeah. Is it incredible? No, it's not. It really is not. And I tried, because I was like, I'm just not really having fun with like the melee combat and like the gun. So I'm gonna switch over to like a magic build early on when I still could afford to like respec if I wanted to. And I will say, like, I generally don't gravitate towards magic using characters in games like this. But I would say that like the magic builds are probably the most fun. It's still not incredible. And I know that it's very difficult to like nail first person combat in a game like this. And I think that they've probably done the best that anyone has done. It's still not great.
I just feel like it was fun and arcadey, but it wasn't. Yeah. It wasn't. It even as I was playing, I was like, is this going to be very? I can't imagine it's going to be very deep here.
It's not deep. It's not deep at all. You're going to run into like a variation of like 5 to 6 enemy types throughout the game. Yeah. There is not a lot of like strategy involved with those combat encounters. It's just like, you know, go through the motions, rinse, repeat, the same thing that I did with the last fight. There is not a lot of depth here when it comes to the combat. And I just found myself, when I was like pretty deep into it, like 15, 20 hours, being like, yeah, I just think that this is fundamentally flawed, but good enough, right? This is not terrible by any means. The story is terrible. I think the characters in the story suck, which is really confusing, because like, I really like The Outer Worlds. I thought that the writing in that was pretty good. I mean, and I think that largely relies on like this dystopic kind of like shitty setup where you're like, oh, this is funny because like we're barreling towards this in one way or another in our actual lives, and it's funny because of that.
The humor in Outer Worlds was pretty fantastic.
And I like shooting guns more than the whole, you know, melee combat that's present here. It's just a lot of filler as well. I didn't find like a lot of the side activities or quests to be particularly compelling. It was, you know, a lot of rinse, repeat, just go and get the thing for the guy and come back, like give it to the guy, move on, you know, very standard stuff. And so I don't know.
I did like the you can fast travel to camp, you can sleep, and then when you leave the camp, it's like, hey, do you want to go to the exact spot you left?
Yeah.
Like
there's some
fucking
cool.
yeah, I do.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, there's some cool quality of life features in this game that are really nice. One that's been like talked about a lot, which I fundamentally think of this as bad game design in my opinion, but like a lot of people are like, you have like a weight limit with your items, but like it's never a problem. Like you're never going to be encumbered because you can just send all of your items to camp. And I'm like, yeah, I guess that's nice, but like, why have it in the game? Like, I'm never going to be encumbered in this game. And if I am encumbered, I just go into my menu and hit R on all of the items that I don't want. Well, right. It's not even dismantle. It immediately sends it to your camp stash. So wherever you're at on the map, it's just like, send this over to camp. And it's just like, well, why is this system here? Just let me have unlimited weight if like, this is the way that this system works. But people in the media are like gushing over this, like it's fucking a revelation. And I'm like, why is it here? It makes no sense.
I think that where I fall and probably where you fall is equipment load on what I'm wearing. I can work with. I can understand it. Slows you down. And then encumbrance on what's in my pocket is bullshit and is not ever fun. And no one is ever just like, great. And it needs to just go away. So essentially, I'm just saying it should be like the Souls games where, yes, if I'm wearing it, it impacts my speed. Everything else, yeah, I can have 9,000 swords or whatever.
Yeah, and especially because this game is like, the way I play games, it's like, ooh, there's something shiny. I'm going to pick it up. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, that's what you're doing the vast majority of the game. You're either in a combat encounter or you're picking shit up off the ground. And so I don't understand why that's in here. I've seen a lot of people being like, this game is really challenging as well. And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck you're doing. This game was a breeze, man. Like super, super easy, like almost like laughably so. If I liked it more, I probably would have raised the difficulty just to challenge myself a little bit more. There are like tiers of enemies that kind of filter into the loot system that we were talking about, and that'll be indicated by skulls next to like an enemy's health bar that will basically be like, oh, don't fuck with this thing. Like they have tiers, like just like the loot that you get or your equipment has tiers, the enemies have tiers as well. And so like a lot of times the characters will be like, you get hit by one of them, they'll be like, you need new armor. And you're like, okay, or it's like, this weapon's not effective. But like, I never ever worried about the higher tier enemies because I would just go in and kill them all. And it wasn't like I'm just like murdering them wholesale, like easily. Yeah, they were a little bit more tanky, but I never found myself like, oh man, this is really getting tough. Aside from like the very final bit of the content in the game where the difficulty picks up a little bit, but by and large, like by the end of it too, just because of the skills that I had spec'd into my character,
you were well equipped.
I was just wrecking everything. And so I was just like, I just don't think that this thing has enough to really set it aside from like other comparable games, right?
I had read that the boss design is quite disappointing as far as there just aren't very good bosses.
There's not good bosses in this game.
You're fighting through it.
No, I can't even remember like one that I was like, oh yeah, that was good. They largely follow the same path as like random enemies, but they're just tankier. And
that's too bad because you've got this kit. That's what makes these things fun is when you have to have a unique boss. You got to figure out what makes them tick and how to get through them.
Yeah, there's none of that here. There's just a lot of filler here too, where it's like, yeah, like if you were going to mainline this, you could probably finish it in 20 hours, 30 hours, something like that. But it's like, it almost feels like that's too much content for what's here. Right. And then when you get outside of the first area, the next three areas, just like the next three characters that kind of correspond to those areas, is fairly disappointing. I mean, it still maintains that high level of like exploration and like there's lots of things to find, but they're not visually impressive like that first one is. I mean, there's a handful of instances like the last area that you're in is pretty cool because it's like attached to a volcano, which is kind of neat. But like, yeah, man, No, you gotta. I feel bad, kind of shitting on this thing because I think there's a lot of really good ideas here, and I am a fan of Obsidian, a big fan of Obsidian, and so I'd love to see them, kind of evolve this, which I'm sure they will. I think that's done quite well. It's received very favorable reviews for the most part, and it probably sold pretty well too, even though it's on Game Pass, which I think is going to probably cut into some of those sales. But I just feel like there's a way to do this like kind of piecemeal grand adventure and make it compelling. And what it really requires is like curation of the like minute to minute. You don't have 80 to 90 to 100 hours of time to really like drive home what you're trying to come up with a game like this. Like if you're going to do these small piecemeal things, every encounter and every quest line needs to be like well thought out, and it needs to be interesting. And I just don't think that that's here. So like I think that's the biggest indictment on this thing is it's just like it just feels like throwaway content, and there's not a lot of content in the game overall.
Yeah, I had a feeling when I played it and played through that first zone in my head, I was like, I don't think Jared's gonna. He's gonna show up. He's gonna have finished it, and he's gonna say it's not enough.
It's just not good enough. It's like the length is fine.
Sure.
It's just what's here is not good enough for me. So yeah, I don't know, man. I am still very excited for the Outer World 2. That's still supposedly coming out this year.
It's pretty crazy.
They're going to launch 2 games in 1 year. Seems like Microsoft might need it now that they delayed Fable until 2026 as well. But yeah, I really am hoping that the Outer Worlds 2 grabs me a little bit more than Avowed did.
Man, they've Fable's really that's a tough one. Fable's really got to be something good, or else people are going to be really going to shit on it. We are going to shit on it if it's
maybe
not
don't
really something special.
Have a car racing team make your RPG. I don't know. I mean, maybe those Forza games are
going to be nuts.
Yeah, those Forza games are fantastically well made games. So, and as far as I understand, it's like they hired a team within the team. I think it's called like Playground Games. So it's not the Forza team working on it. It's like a offshoot, I should say, of another team working at Playground. But like, still, like, you couldn't find anybody else. Fucking call Peter Molyneux up and be like, "Hey, you crazy bastard! You want to get on a fucking stage and make up a bunch of lies about a game, and then like." I don't know, dude. I don't know. I think that this is probably like, set aside the quality of the game and what I feel about it, like they're going to prop this thing up and be like, this is our tentpole experience here at Microsoft. Did you see what we did with Avowed? It's incredible.
I mean,
some people like it. Other people don't like it. But
I think Game Pass has had a pretty good 6 months. But we will see how it goes for the rest of the year.
I mean, I think Indiana Jones. I did see that this has done better than Indiana Jones. I think that Indiana Jones is a far superior experience. Go play that over Avowed.
Interesting. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk about Yakuza, Metaphor, other stuff. All right, we're back. It was very exciting. The last time you showed up when I was still coughing quite a bit. So I did not try the spring bank that you brought over. So I'm pretty excited to try it, although I should have taken a sip before we started this. But what is this, like 50 something?
55%. It's a little hotter.
And yeah, a little bit. This is one. I mean, all of spring bank is pretty much impossible to find, basically.
Yeah.
Did your girlfriend get you this one? Is this?
Yeah, she got me this one in San Francisco. This is I think we talked about it on the last show, but this one they did like 9,900 bottles of it. So it's pretty limited. And it's a Portuguese sherry cask finish.
Yeah, that's a pretty unique flavor profile on this thing, especially compared to what we just had. Like they're night and day different.
Definitely. we're just kind of working our way up. We did the 15 year and then we did the 10, and I will bring my favorite one over for the next recording, which is the cast strength, the 10-year cast strength. That is really fucking good. Maybe the best spring bake I've had.
I got a rum coming our way.
Okay.
I don't know what it is.
All right.
My parents got it for me on a cruise ship, and it's in a box.
Okay.
That's all I know.
All right. Well, you know,
it's going to be the Caribbean special.
Yeah. I mean, I like rum a lot, especially if it's well-made rum.
Yeah.
That's definitely something that I wish that we could get into a little bit more. And like, I went to a Total Wine and went to the rum section and was just overwhelmed. Like, probably in the same way that someone feels overwhelmed looking at like all of the selection of whiskey, because I just don't really know anything about rum.
And we never see it here.
Yeah.
Like, we talk about how our selection of whiskey is bad. Well, rum is quite a bit worse.
You like the Kraken?
Like,
how about Bumbu? Whatever the fuck it's called.
There's nothing there when I was trying to make those daiquiris. I'm like, I need a nice white rum, and the only thing I did find a decent one, that Hamilton's pretty good, but there's just no options. It's really a bad time, but that's is the world we live in. My while I was on vacation, my parents my in-laws had our dogs.
Yeah.
And Nala, the rounder of the two, she
by considerable margin.
There was a few days where it was just my father-in-law, because my mother-in-law went out of town. She crawled under the deck.
Yeah.
And she got stuck.
Oh.
Deep under the deck. And he's a retired guy. Probably not too excited about trying to save Nala. So he is this is the story that we hear from him. He's dismantling the deck.
Oh.
Just to get her out.
Mm-hmm.
She is scared and she's crawling further under the deck. At the same time, a raccoon has entered their yard, and Dave is fighting a raccoon and winning, apparently.
Okay.
He's like, because from what we heard is Dave gave him some good ones and threw him around a bit.
Wow.
So Dave is fighting a raccoon. My father-in-law has a sawzall. He takes a sawzall to his deck to rescue Nala.
Jesus Christ.
And all this is coming just over in text, and we're just like, what is happening?
Well, let's go to the pool, I guess.
But yeah, so our dogs came back to us with just a lot of dirt in their undercarriage.
Oh yeah,
so it's pretty.
That's fucking hilarious. Did the raccoon get him at all?
No, that's the thing, is he seems fine.
You kind of have to worry about that sometimes. I know, I'm sure that he's like up to date with rabies and things like that.
He is. Annie was like, should we take him in? And I was just like, I don't know. He looks fine. What do we say? Is like, he kicked the raccoon's ass. You want to talk to him about it? See how he feels about it? I don't know. Like, he probably would kick a raccoon's ass. He's just not scared of anything.
Fucking raccoons are terrifying as well. Mm-hmm. So like, wow. Good on Dave.
Fucking Dave Sprinkle, man. Before we get to what I played, how was Yakuza Pirate Holiday? How is it?
It's pretty good.
What's the game called?
It's called Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii.
Great.
So it's a pretty bad name. But yeah, no, this thing is pretty good in a lot of ways, and not great in some ways. But yeah, so you know, the RGG studio kind of has like a checkered history with some of these like spin-off games.
Because that's what this one is, right?
Yeah.
And they fill in. You've talked about a lot of them before, but it's like the off years.
Right. These dudes are just like fucking crazy. Like, they pump out, I mean, they're on like a once a year trajectory right now, which like you could argue that maybe too much, but
I think it is too much. But
yeah, but they are really good at pumping these things out. So, and yeah, like I said, like some of the spinoffs, like the zombie spinoff, I can't even remember the name of it, but like Zombies Infest Tokyo, that game's fucking terrible, like not redeemable. And granted, that was like a different time period for the studio, and they really since then have garnered like a lot of critical acclaim and really have become what they are now. So, going into this, I was a little apprehensive. I was definitely, even though I'm a diehard fan of the series, was like, I don't know. Like, if this thing gets like middling reviews, I'll probably skip it. But like, generally, a lot of people really liked it. So I was like, fuck, man. Okay.
Oh, and they're working with just a really popular character. So the stakes are high. Like if they really messed it up, people would be pretty ticked.
Yeah.
Like is it Goro Majima?
Yeah.
I mean
Majima is like, it's probably Kiryu and the Majima are like the two most popular characters.
Yeah, he's just in the memes around the whole series. He's a part of so many of them. He's just a huge part of this thing.
Oh yeah, and he has been since the beginning. I mean, he was like the original antagonist in the first Yakuza game. You know what I mean? And he's a great character. I mean, he's fantastic in the way that like Kiryu is kind of like the power fantasy everyman, and Ichiban is like this nerdy doofus, kind-hearted doofus. Majima is a fucking psycho, and it has a good heart, and it has like a sense of morality, and will do the right thing. But his baseline is crazy and just like a fucking psycho. And so he's one of my favorite characters. He's absolutely hilarious in everything that he's in. No different here. But this game is goofy. Like, that's an understatement. Like the premise is this.
Going into it, I mean, they weren't trying to elude anyone. Like if you watch the trailer to it, you're like, oh, this is going to be fucking batshit.
Oh, ridiculous. It's batshit crazy. Yeah. So Majima washes up on a beach off of the coast of the Hawaiian Islands on this random island called the Rich Island.
Great.
And he wakes up on this beach, and he's saved by this little boy who has a pet tiger, a baby tiger. And ironically, the tiger's name is Goro, which is hilarious. And it's an amnesia story. So Majima washes up, and he doesn't have any memory of like what has taken place prior. He doesn't know why he's on the island, anything like that. He basically has the understanding that he is kind of like a dirtbag, and like has some indication of that, but he has no like tangible memories.
When's this set? In the grand scheme of
this, it's like a number of months after the events of Infinite Wealth.
Okay,
so so he washes up on this beach, and this island is essentially populated by this group of people that are living out this like fantasy of being pirates, basically, in modern day.
They're cosplaying pirates.
Yeah, exactly. They lawless people that are pretending to be pirates. And the beginning of the game is hilarious because Majima is like, "Hey kid, why do you have a tiger?" And the kid's like, "Oh no, it's not a tiger. He's just a cat." And Majima, like internally, the dialogue's like, "I don't know what's going on with this kid, but that's definitely a fucking tiger." But it's so stupid. You can put a pirate hat on the tiger as well. When you go swimming, it like wears floaties and floats in the water with you. It's absolutely adorable.
And that's good shit.
It's really, really good. It also communicates with you because it's Yakuza and it's fucking ridiculous. But yeah, so basically Majima runs into this group of dudes trying to be pirates, or cosplaying as pirates, and immediately gets into shit with them and then kicks their asses. And in that process, he takes a pirate ship from one of them and then becomes a pirate captain. He equips like the pirate hat and the garb, and you're off to the races. And you just suspend all disbelief because everybody that is like interacting in this world in modern times is just like, there's pirates in this world. I mean, I know that there's pirates in real life, but not like swashbuckling pirates. Yeah. And yeah, the story kind of revolves around Nell Island, or Nele Island, which is from the previous game, where the asshole, the cult leader, was basically stashing nuclear waste. And through the process of the story, you find out that there's a like buried treasure underneath the island, and that's why all of these like groups have formed these pirate companies to like find this, like the lost treasure of Esperanza is what it's called. And it's basically like the holy grail, like eternal life is rumored to be available if you can find it. So that's the crux of the story. What happens though is you go to this place called Madlantis, which is the new area in the game, and it is like a pirate den haven in a cave in the middle of the ocean, and it's pretty cool. Like it's visually very impressive and very unique, and it's so funny because at the beginning of the game, the kid that rescues you, he's got like asthma, like severe asthma, and his dad, who also becomes part of your crew, is like very cautious of like allowing him to like go out into the world. So he is very sheltered, and Majima's like, well, I'm just going to take you on this fucking journey with me. And so he takes this kid to Madlantis, and there's just like prostitutes all over the place. And like they're all talking, it's just like pirates trying to like John's trying to find a prostitute. And you're just like walking around this environment with like all of this like pretty, you know, rough, crude dialogue. And I'm just like, there's this 9-year-old, 10-year-old kid with me and his pet tiger. All of it is ridiculous. So yeah, that's the story. It goes places. It's a little too long. It's a little long-winded, I would say. What?
How long are we talking?
Well, like most people like said they can finish it in 20 hours. I spent like 50 or 60 hours in this, but I did everything, right? Yeah, so the gameplay has switched. So like obviously Ichiban and the last two games have been turn-based. This goes back to like the series roots and is a brawler, beat 'em up. Yeah. And Majima has two different styles that he can switch to. One of them is called the Mad Dog style because he's the Mad Dog of Shimano. And that style, he just has like a little like miniature katana, and he just uses that. And then the other style is swashbuckler style, where he pulls out two cutlasses and has a grappling hook. And they both are good. I think that the way that you could like differentiate this from like previous like older Yakuza games is like juggling air combos and things like that. There's a lot of air juggling in this game where you can pop up enemies in the air and then juggle them around. And then once you unlock more abilities with the swashbuckler, he can like grapple into them and pull them in or pull them down out of the air. Both of the styles are pretty satisfying. I mean, it's not, you know, moving this style forward. It is very much, you know, what you've come to expect from the older Yakuza games in that way. But I think that it's serviceable, and I think it's pretty good. I enjoyed myself quite a bit. Outside of Madlantis, there's also the entire map from Infinite Wealth. So you go to Hawaii at certain points in the game. And that's where all of the wacky, fucking zany side quests and things like that take place. And some of the best side quests that I've seen from this series is in this game. And that's one of the, probably the highlight for me for this game is there are just some absolutely ridiculous side quests. I'll highlight a couple for you. My personal favorite involves, especially because of my situation and who I live with, but there's a HR compliance manager that you meet in Hawaii that is trying to teach Majima and another pirate captain how to be more inclusive on the pirate ship. And they go through like a class to become more you know, equitable to all people, which is like just a ridiculous situation because it's like these lawless fucking pirates and they're sitting at this HR meeting learning how to be better leaders, and it is so fucking funny.
That's a great idea.
Part of that side quest requires like there's like these mock situations like you would see in like any HR training video when you start at a new company, and the guy that's leading it's like, okay, well, what's wrong with this situation? Like, what happened here that was not appropriate in the workplace? And it's just so good, dude. And then there's another one that is probably one of the highlights of like side quests that I've seen in any of these Yakuza games, which is saying something because there's a lot of them. But one of your party members, Masaru, who is the cook or chef on your ship, who's a great character. He's very funny. He's kind of like a goofy, almost like an incel. He's not very good with women. And you basically meet all of these like very attractive, like upper crust Japanese women that are in Hawaii for a number of reasons. And throughout the quest, you like recruit them and, you know, kind of befriend all of them and convince them to date Masaru. But the way that it is set out is they recorded all of it live recording. So they took the character that plays Masaru, but it's actually him. And there's like a series of vignettes with him interacting with these girls, and the shit that happens in those vignettes, like I could not stop laughing. Like I was rolling, like laughing out loud, because he's just such a dork and he does the weirdest fucking shit with these like very hot girls, and they all obviously hate him. And it's just it's pure peak Yakuza like side quest design. They also break the third wall a lot, which I really appreciate, probably because this story is much more lighthearted than like your average fare with these games. There's a lot of like Majima looking directly into the camera and talking like and expressing the feelings of the game developers. Like there's one sequence where Majima talks about like how it's not fair that like the people that are actually like in the trenches in game development are not getting like the proper accolades, and like the award system that we have in games media and things like that doesn't properly reward the right people, and shit like that, where they're just like the third wall is completely broken here. So I really like that about it. So yeah, it's stuff like that. But the main like big piece of this game, that kind of the new hook, or which all these games have it, I guess you could call it a mini game, but it's such a substantial part of the game that it's probably not accurate to call it a mini game, is like maintaining a crew on your ship, right? So you're going to, throughout the game, meet a bunch of colorful characters, just like any fucking Yakuza game, and then you recruit them. And the best way, or like the most close comparison that I can make, is the Senbei mini game from the first Like a Dragon game, which is like the omelet, working with omelet, the chicken, the one that I think you like a lot, where every crew member has like specific ratings based on like things they can do for you on the ship. And so you're just kind of like setting them in the right position so that you can maximize your damage output, your maneuverability on the ship. And there's a lot of crew members, like 70, 80 crew members that you can recruit throughout the game. And they all do different things for you, right? And you're equipping your ship, you're changing your ship. The customization options just for like ship skins and stuff like that is incredible. So like the figurehead on the front of a boat, I picked the personal massager because everybody loves that. So just my ship's just floating through the ocean, and there's just this giant vibrator on the front of it, which is fucking hilarious.
They've gotten a lot of content out of that thing.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's very funny. As soon as I saw that it could be the figurehead on the front of the ship, I was like, yep. So like any like serious situation in the game is just undercut by like me fucking rolling in with my vibrator on the front of my ship, which is very funny.
It's great.
But yeah, so there's a lot of like traversing the open ocean in this game. And that's where I think this game really falls apart. And that's like a huge indictment, because you're talking about like maybe 50% of the game is spent in this like ship, movement and combat situation. And I just don't think that it's good. Like it's very stiff. Like when we talk about like East Nordics, where I was like, this boat really sucks, but by the end I was like, this boat's awesome. I was hoping that I would have that same feeling with this, but like, yeah, you upgrade the boat and it gets better, but it's still like at the top line when you max everything out, it's just very slow. It's hard to maneuver, which like I get it. It's a big fucking old like Spanish galleon.
I mean, I don't really get it. Like the game's ridiculous. They should have made it.
Well, and it also has at one point you get fucking like jetpacks on it that just boost through the air, boost you out of the water in the air, and you do like huge jumps off of waves. I think the biggest problem with it, and like I don't know how you mitigate this, like the like momentum of the ocean, like waves and things like that, throw off the combat, right? Where like you get like all sorts of wacky weapons and things like that. Like at the end, I had cannons that literally shot shit onto
Nice.
other boats
Okay.
and things like that. But like and you'll lock on and you got a broadside and then like fire the cannons, but you can be locked on, but the waves will move you up and down. And
Dude.
so like if you're not like on plane with the other boat, you'll just whiff, right?
Yeah.
And it just doesn't feel good. Like there needed to be like some tracking or motion like that allowed you to just like hit shots. So there's a lot of frustration where I'd be like, oh god damn it, I missed. And now I gotta fucking move this big motherfucker all the way around broadside again to get another shot at it. And it just is really too stiff and not super satisfying.
You say it's like half the game.
It's a lot of the game, yeah. And that then like the other part, like the main story revolves around Madlantis, and there's like a ship coliseum where you go and you like fight against like a series of different ships. And I wanted to pull my hair out on some of it. One of the reasons it's so frustrating is like you get like a lot of options to unlock with mats and things like that for your ship, and like some of them are really effective, obviously, but the ships that you fight have things that you can't get yourself. Like one of the harder ones has got fucking like homing missiles that it just shoots at you, and they hit you if you're in like the wrong space. And it's like, why can't I have this? Like it just feels like fundamentally unfair. And I wanted to pull my hair out with a lot of that stuff. I just don't think it's great.
Is it hard?
Some of it's really hard. Like it's like the upper echelon challenges are really, really hard.
So not even like what's required, but if you're trying to check out the boxes, that stuff is.
Some of it's really frustrating and annoying. And I was just like, it came out, or I was like in the middle of it. I was probably 30 hours in, and Monster Hunter dropped last week. And I was like, I really like elements of this thing, but like other parts of it are just really frustrating me. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to finish this. And then I was just like, who am I fucking kidding? Like, I got to get through it. Sure. So I just kind of like pushed through. But there's some really good stuff here, and I think that it's not terrible. Like there's a lot to like here, especially if you're a fan of Majima. I think he's probably the best character that Yakuza has for sure.
Any other returning characters?
Yeah, towards the end, Ichiban shows up a bit. And then like a lot of like the ancillary characters, like Julie's garage, like the character that would like help you build things. She's there. There's a lot of returning characters like in the side quests and things like that. If you played a lot of Infinite Wealth side quests, there's a lot of like reuse stuff there. But like in smart, like original ways, it's not like just cookie cutter, like same fucking thing from Infinite Wealth. They take it and then evolve it. But yeah, it's a good time. I would recommend it if you're a big fan like I am. But this is probably one that for somebody that's like kind of on the fence or like enjoyed what was in the last two games, you could probably skip it and not miss out on a ton of stuff. So it is what it is. It's all right.
Look, that's the point of those intermediary ones anyway. Like you can always skip them. Like they're not going to be pushing any of those plot points forward.
Well, the end of this does, which is pretty surprising, where like there's some big like reveals for the future of the series at the very end of the game, where which has like, okay, I guess. But Majima is just such a good character that like really come from Majima and the ridiculous shit that he fucking does and says, and you'll have a good time with it. It's worth checking out if you're a fan.
Nice. Well, I'm another few months, and I'm going to be looking pretty good on my 2024 backlog.
Okay.
The problem with 2024 is there were a lot of large games that I enjoyed and that I wasn't able to finish because they're just huge. They take a ton of time. And I've checked some of those boxes. And then while I was playing Avowed, I was just like, you know what? Like, I just don't, I would much rather be playing, say, Metaphor, which I had played about 20 hours of originally.
Yeah.
So I went back. It's a little tough to go back to that game, that style of calendar game, because you kind of got to just figure out where you were, et cetera, et cetera. But
especially because it's like it's all calendar based. So it's like pretty jarring. I've done that before where I'm like, oh man, I don't even know where to start.
It was a little tough, but I got through that hurdle in a half hour or so, and then was like, okay. And then I've really put another. I think I just passed the 50-hour mark, which I don't think is. I mean, I think you played it for 100, but
yeah, a little over 100.
I've made some good progress, and I'm just in kind of a weird place in that I just only want to play these types of games, like with Persona 3, and I'm a little sad here because I don't know. I don't think I have anywhere to go after Metaphor as far as what I've played, and the SMT games, at least the one I tried, wasn't quite what I was looking for. This shit, just for some reason, right now, I just really fucking love these things. And this one is, man, we've talked about it pretty thoroughly, but it's very good. My only issue is the characters aren't grabbing me as much as, say, the Persona ones do, and I think it's because it's a little more serious. Like there's not as many jokes and not as many characters I'm just gravitating to. Like they're all well done. Like they have pretty good stories. All heartbreaking. All of them have seen some shit. Like they're all kind of going through it. But yeah, I'm pretty much absolutely hooked into that thing again. I'll probably, well, where Monster Hunter doesn't run on the Steam Deck, I'll keep chipping away at it and hopefully wrap that up, and then maybe go on to Wukong, because that's Black Myth is the only one left from 2024. I think that's it. If I can manage that, then I will have caught up on 2024. We can redo the Game of the Year show.
I can't imagine Wukong runs well on the Steam Deck, does it?
No, Wukong would have to be the PC. There's no way it would run. But it's just that, as I was playing Avowed, and it's just like the depth of the combat in these things, it's like all I want. It's such a fucking drug, especially with this one where you get to manipulate all of your characters' builds.
Yep.
It's really fucking good. And everything changed. When I did turn, I had played that first 20 hours on the higher difficulty, and it was kind of a bad time with the resource management side of it. It was making it really just not good. I turned that down, and it doesn't, the game's still challenging. It's still quite difficult, but has kind of solved a lot of my complaints as far as that. And then I've gotten a few different abilities that help me with my mana pool.
You have all the characters down?
No.
Okay.
I'm almost done with that's the thing. I feel like I'm not even that fucking far. Like I just infiltrated Louise's place. I got Heisme, finished all that, did all of the side stuff, waited to the last day, and I'm about to finally do like the next dungeon. And then I'm pretty sure Juna is the next character, but because I've met her, but I don't have her. So I don't know if that happens after this one.
The last character that you get is one of my favorites.
Okay.
Really good.
I mean, I looked it up because I was just trying to understand like how long the game is. I'm in August and the game ends in October, but it's not, maybe it doesn't go as fast as some of the Persona days, because there's a lot more calendar days in a Persona game. Seems like it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, this is like across the board, this is like kind of like a tight, condensed version of what you would have found in like the previous Persona games.
I think I don't like that I can't date these people. I want to be able to date everyone.
Like we talked about. Fucking Heisme. I think at the point that we talked about fucking Heisme, you didn't know who Heisme was, and now it's funnier to you. He's a little Batman.
He's a good character. I love how deep his voice is, and he says something at the beginning of some of the battles, and he's just it's very epic. The music's very good, and it's completely different than the style we get in Persona games. And it's I've enjoyed seeing that it's still has the same effect of being like, fuck yeah, let's do it. And you've heard the same song over and over again, and you're like, yeah, I don't care. It's like this fucking chanting, all these people yelling, and then like, and it's like, it's very good.
It's pretty epic, definitely. And like, since I've like been away from the game, I definitely like occasionally will be playing something or just like working, and I will just hear and I'm like, oh yeah, that actually is a pretty good battle theme.
It is. It's there's not
takes some time to get to grow on you, but it's good.
There's not a ton of variety in the music and a lot of it, but I think it works. And with any luck, I will probably wrap this up this year. But I don't know.
This year.
Well, it kind of depends if anything else can take the Steam Deck time. But where Monster Hunter is not going to, and that's going to, I had to get a whole setup because I was like, well, it's Monster Hunter time. I've only played a few hours. I don't think we're going to do much on it for this show, but I think we're on a cable. I've got the computer ran to my TV. It just felt like I wanted to be able to play Monster Hunter on the TV.
Yeah.
It's very big. It's nice. And my daughter is going to fucking love it.
Yeah.
Like she's going to be all about the hunting of the monsters.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, we don't really need to talk about it too much. I put about 45 hours into Monster Hunter. Spoilers, it's good. It's pretty good.
It's one of those.
But I presumably, hopefully, by the time we record next, you can get to a point like we can hunt now together, because there are ways for the mats that I would be getting to be valuable in this, which is good. But yeah, hopefully we can get into like the end of the game together and get some hunts in together.
I'll be playing it pretty much nonstop until the next show, and hopefully we can get, there's a number of people in the Discord that are playing it, so it would be fun. Is it 4 people we can have in a party?
4.
That would be a good time, and seems like a good one of those. Do you have anything else to add onto this thing?
No, I think that'll about wrap it up.
Right,
we fucking did a lot.
That is Gamescast 149. Thank you for listening. Go ahead and look in the show notes. There should be a link to the Discord, and if you go to the bio on YouTube, there'll be a link that you can join that way. Come in, talk to us, play Monster Hunter with us. That's gonna do it. Take it easy.